Are you looking for some one-of-a-kind Twitch panels? Or something at least a little more out of the box? Do you want to learn how to make your own Twitch panels like these? Now, they may look really technical, but I promise they're really easy. All you need is some design software. I'll be using the Adobe Creative Suite and making examples using raster and vector imaging. You can use any design software you want, as long as it supports PNG with transparent backgrounds or alpha channels. I'll show you how this design works and how to incorporate any design elements you want or your own branding. So let's check it out. Wait! Don't click off this video because you saw how long it was just yet. I've come from the future to explain. This video is technically 3 tutorials in one, so if you want to skip ahead to the application that you plan on using, here are some timestamps. Whew. I thought you were going to click off the video. Whew. But if you want to learn more about the design and the concept behind it, or if you just want to learn how to do it in all 3 applications, then let's just get back to the video. So this panel design uses a technique similar to Parallax, which is the perceived difference in distance of objects in the foreground and background. This technique is achieved by using masking and scale to make objects feel like they have depth and that they are within the same space as each other when they are just 2D objects, not actually made in 3D space. You can see that because of the way that this element looks like it's going under and over top of this border, and this is going underneath there and over that. And that same with these elements. It's coming around and out. This element goes around this element, but it's going outside on top of here. This is coming through here like that and whatnot. I could zoom in on this, but it's gonna get pixelated because it is a raster image, meaning that it's made with pixels. So you can see it kind of coming through here a little bit, almost as if they're like, it's actually in there with it. So I'm going to be doing some very quick examples for you guys today. You can pretty much do this with anything. You can do it a couple different ways. I'm going to show you a couple different styles. So to start, you're going to go into your program of choice. You're going to want to create a new image. In Photoshop here, you're going to want to set it to 320 pixels wide by 100. The reason we do 320 is because that's the maximum width that Twitch will allow for a panel. And 100 is like, I guess like the regular size that you would make. You can make it as long as you want, but 100 is what we're gonna do with today. 72 pixels per inch. Make sure it's in pixels, not inches or anything else. RGB, because it is a web-based design. CMYK is used for print. 8-bit's fine. Now background contents. Now that's important. If the program you're working in supports transparent background, do transparent background. If not, that's okay. Here, because we're exporting out a PNG, it will export a transparent background for you. So because it allows us to have a transparent background, we're gonna make it a transparent. Open it up. And first thing you're gonna see is your panel. So this is the full size of the panel. Where the technique comes in is that you're not going to be designing most of it all the way to the edge and then having stuff on the outside. What you're gonna be doing is you're gonna be designing inside of this rectangle. I'm just going to select the rectangular marquee tool and make a rectangle. The size you want to go with, it depends on how you want to design your own, but just for this, I'm going to be making it about that big. I don't care about size because these aren't going to be used, but depending on how you design it, you can decide how you want it to look. And then with your layer selected, you want to, I find that 2 pixels works well, and then just putting it in the center or the inside or the outside. The center will give you 2 pixels, 1 pixel on the outside of the dotted line and 1 on the inside. Inside we'll put 2 pixels inside, outside 2 pixels outside. Make it whatever color you want. You can always change that after, but white will work for here. Hit OK, and there you go. You have your border. Now you want to make another layer, and you want to drag that layer underneath. We're going to rename this for organization's sake, stroke or border. The second layer, background. Now with this background layer selected and this selection still there, right click and fill, and this will be your background layer. Black will do, just hit OK, and there you have a background. Now if you want to get rid of that selection right there, just hit Control D or Command D on Mac, and there you have your 2 layers. And you can still see this checkerboard. If you don't know, means that it's just transparency, that just a checkered background to tell you that there is nothing there, no graphics or anything there. Next thing you're gonna wanna do is grab the graphics you wanna use for the design. So you're gonna wanna place, find your images. I think that's the only one from this folder. Hit place. Just gonna move it because I know where it's gonna go. I'm gonna go and resize it. So one of the secrets of this design is that you use the space on the outside, but to get the perceived image that it is not the full scale of the panel itself. So to give the idea that it's not the full size like this, where you have stuff on the outside, you need to have things overlapping to the outside, like that. We're gonna place that there. You don't want it touching the edges because as soon as it hits the edge, you can then see the border of the frame itself, and that just won't work. You can have that on like one side and still have the same effect, but if you want just like the full floating effect, you'd want to do it this way. Now I'm gonna add the other file. I'm gonna grab the YouTube logo. I'm gonna be doing this pretty much with all three of them, but I'm gonna grab the YouTube logo here. Gonna set it where I want it, give it a little bit of a rotation, scale it a little bit. Don't want it too big or too small. I'm gonna put it underneath just to like kind of see where it sits. Still want it to be legible. We might go up a little bit. Yeah, that looks good. Make sure it's not like on the outside. Yeah, that looks good right there. So we're gonna leave that there. Put it on top, and we're gonna just hide it for now. We're gonna work with the smoke layer. So with the smoke layer, the secret is that you're gonna be doing a mask. And in Photoshop, the easiest way to do a mask is to just come down here and hit this button, the square with a circle, which adds a layer mask. And you'll see a little white square rectangle next to the thumbnail. And when you see white, that means what you can see. Everything that's black on that mask will be the mask, things you won't see. So you can do this with multiple things. You can add a shape, fill it with a color, or you can make a solid shape, make it black and add a color. But we're not gonna be doing it that way. We're just gonna be using the brush tool. So with this layer mask selected, you're gonna hit B, which brings up the brush tool. And we're just gonna go up here. And this is where I open the brush properties. And because we're using a 2 pixel wide stroke for the border, I'm just gonna make this 2 pixels. And for now, I'm gonna make the hardness 100 and just a hard round solid circle. And now when you brush over the areas where the border is, you're basically going to be erasing, but you're not actually erasing. It's still there, it's just hidden. And the reason why we do this instead of erasing is that you can't undo an erase. That's a destructive edit, which means that you can't get it back once you've done it, unless you Control Z, but then you have to Control Z it out of everything. So it's okay if you get rid of some of it, because now you can just, you wanna make sure that it's a black brush first. White means that it will come, you can brush it back in. So, looks like this brush is a little bit too big to get these fine details. We're just gonna brush it back in again. Just wanna get a 1 pixel wide brush, get it right to the edge. I'm gonna go back over here. Brush it all back in. And there you go. That's the white layer over top. But I don't like the way that looks. I feel like that should be on top. I'm actually going to move the entire layer over a bit so that it comes out the side here. So we're gonna come down to this side with the brush, make sure we have our mask selected, and we're gonna select the black layer, and we wanna hide everything where this border is and get rid of everything on the outside as well. So we're just gonna come down here and brush away all of this. There's other ways of achieving the same look in Photoshop, but because we're working with smoke, I find that, or something that doesn't have like a hard edge, I find that brushing it with a more soft flow or a softer brush to be a little bit more forgiving on edges. And you're working at such a small scale that you can't really tell anyways. But yeah, so now it's brushed away and it looks like it's coming. It's only in the image and it's being blocked out on the sides. And we're gonna do the same on down here. So once it hits here, you're gonna wanna brush this away. So it looks like it's coming underneath. Just gonna do it nice and quick for time. That'll do. There you have it. And now we can do the same with the YouTube. You're gonna go and add a new layer mask. For this, we're just gonna make it a little bit bigger. And just gonna brush away a bunch of it so we can see what we're working with. And now we're going to go back in with a softer, I'm gonna do a hard edge. Change the flow down to something like 20%. Change the brush size down to about like 4 or something like that. Oops, make sure it's white. And we're just gonna get the edges first. So we're just gonna come in here and we're gonna go over it a bit. The reason why we're doing this is so we can get in the corners. We get around the edges here so that it's softer. Go back in. I'm gonna get the full color. But we do it this way so we can be very like picky with how much overlap we get in these areas. So you can see you get the red in there a little bit, and you can go over it a couple times. Remember to unclick and not drag so much, that way you can just undo if you need to. Brush away. Just get in there. It doesn't have to be perfect because again, we're working at such a small scale that it's not a huge deal. So once you get the edges and whatnot, you can switch our flow back up to 100. And we'll just go brush in all this 100% right there. Make sure you get a nice hard crisp logo. Come in here, the places you can fit. You can also go down to smaller pixel size, but it's not needed here. See some of the lighter colors in there. For the darker ones, gotta go over those again, get the color back. So you don't want it to look like there's brush strokes or anything, but I think that looks good down there. Same for up here. It's kind of hard because you can't tell exactly where the smoke is, but I'm just gonna brush in some of this because this is all extra. Gotta change our bow back down to like 20. It's the edge of the design right there, so we're just gonna come in and brush it in here. Have to come in a little bit. You can kind of like, it's kind of like painting a little bit where you can kind of decide on what can be seen and what can't. You kind of like decide on the transparency. It looks really hard on that top one because there isn't much of a dark area there. When it's zoomed out to the size that you want, it looks a little bit better. Looks intertwined. And now we're just gonna add ourselves a text layer. YouTube. I'm using a font called Photograph Signature. It's not the best font for using on a site where it's not all English speaking people, so reading written text instead of typed it can be a little bit tricky. There we go. So you don't want to go over the edge here. We can have it up here, that's fine. And we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna actually make a color, add some color to this. Effects, gradient overlay. That one will do. Gonna come down here and add another mask. Grab your brush tool. Make sure your flow is at 100. Size. So you're just gonna want to grab your brush, make sure it's on black to hide it. Just like that. I'm gonna do the same for up here. Just gonna get rid of the white and everything on the outside. And there you have it. It's done. Now we're just gonna go File, Save As. Make it a PNG file. That is important because PNG allows for transparent backgrounds or alpha channels. So test, PS test, hit save, and there you have it. So that's how you do it in Photoshop. Working in Illustrator, it's a little bit more difficult because you're working with vectors, you're not working with pixels. So in Illustrator, you're gonna wanna open a new. It's the same thing, 320 by 100. It just by default has a transparent background. It doesn't start with a colored background. So it looks white, but it's just the artboard. It's completely transparent. And so we're pretty much gonna do the exact same thing. Take the rectangle tool, make your box. You can see that it has a discolored stroke and a fill. We're gonna get rid of the fill, open the layer, find that rectangle. Control Shift V to paste in place. The second one, we're just gonna invert these two so it has a background color. We're gonna pick a different color, something like a blue. Let's go with a blue. Yeah, okay, we're gonna do a blue and a gray. One thing I will mention is what you can do. This is a little secret that I've used for my Twitch panels before. is if we just go to Twitch, you can do that on any page, but if you look at this panel, for instance, you can't tell the difference between the border here, and that's not because it's transparent, it's because it's actually the same color as the background. So what you can do is you can grab the snippet in Windows. I don't know what it is on a Mac, but it's Windows Shift S to basically screenshot an area. Grab a snippet, saved, Control V, and so that's the background color of Twitch. So when you make your background layer, grab the ink dropper tool, or the eyedropper tool, sorry, and click on the Twitch color, and now that is the same color as the Twitch background, so you won't be able to tell the borders on it. Just a little technique. It doesn't really work in this case, but I could get rid of one of these sides of the blue border and it would look like it's part of the background with this kind of sticking out. But back to here, we're gonna do the same thing we did before. File, place, and this time we're actually gonna be opening the actual AI file, which is a vector file, which means that it doesn't matter what size I make this, it retains its scale. It doesn't get blurry because you're not making the pixels bigger. But we're just gonna we're gonna put this down here off the side. There's a couple different ways of getting this to work. For this instance where we're just getting rid of everything on the outside, you can just take your border and duplicate it, Control C, Control Shift V to paste in place. Select that and the image you want to add a mask to, right click, make clipping mask, and there you go. It used that border as guidelines of where to make the mask, but because it was set on the center, it put the mask right on the center line. So just be careful of that when you go in, select it, and you just want to move it so that it sits right on the edge. Whoops. My mouse wheel does some funky things. Gonna move it up here. Just gonna do this quick so we can move on. And there you go, just like that. And we're gonna add another text. YouTube. Photograph signature. Scale that up. Also gonna just add a gradient to this. Yeah, that fits good. So what we're gonna do is, to get a gradient on this text, we're going to have to turn it into outlines. So actual shapes, not a text file. So you can't really change a whole lot once you do this. So making a duplicate layer of this is good practice. And then editing the duplicate so you can go back and adjust things. But for this instance, we're just gonna create outlines, right click, create outlines, and it'll get your text there. Select that, and add a gradient. It doesn't look great, but whatever, it's just colors, for example. So one other technique you can do when working with vector is you can make a rectangle or a shape, make a path, whatever it is. Like that. Put it right to the space that you want it. Like that. Selection tool. Select both the rectangle and the thing you want to cut out, and you'll end up seeing both there. And grabbing the shape builder tool. And this will let you merge shapes together into one shape. So you can do that, and that turned into one giant shape. But we're gonna be doing the opposite. If you hold Alt, it will remove, using the two shapes, whatever you want to get rid of. So we're gonna get rid of all of this because we don't want any of this. So we're just gonna click and drag over it, and it deletes it all, leaving only that. You're building shapes, basically. You overlay a bunch of shapes and you can add or remove whatever pieces you want to make one full shape. And we're also gonna do this for this part of the E, but we're gonna be doing another technique using just the pen tool. Because you already had the stroke set to center on this, you're just gonna wanna select on the same path, hold Shift, go down to the bottom, and then hold Control and click off to deselect. Select that, and make sure you have color on the stroke instead, and you're gonna see it's that color right now. So you're gonna see it's the same color as that layer. You're just gonna wanna go and ink dropper on this blue here. And there you go. You just added a line on top, and it blocked over that section right there. And we're gonna do that same thing for the bottom one here. We wanna get rid of this one, this section right here. I wanna grab the pen tool. You don't wanna select the layer itself because then it'll add to the path and that's not what you want. Make sure it's empty, then just add the pen tool. Draw on the path, control click off, and you're done. That's how you do masking in Illustrator. If you wanna save this, you wanna export as, go into here, make sure it's a PNG, Illustrator, Illustrator, test. You want to make sure you select use artboards, because if your design goes to the outside of the whole artboard and you don't select use artboards, it will take everything that is visible on there. So you want to make sure you select use artboards, that way it takes only things that are on the artboard itself. Go down, go to our save folder here, Illustrator test, use artboards, only one, so we're working with. And as you can see, it has the transparent background. You want to make sure it's IPPI, pixels per inch, or points per inch, sorry. Hit OK. And there you have it. Now to move on to After Effects. It's more or less the same in After Effects. Just want to make a new project, a new composition. Make that 320 by 100. Frame rate doesn't matter. If you're adding effects like I did for my designs, I found the frame that I liked the effect in use, and so that's I have 10 minutes here just because. Background color, just make it black. This is with an instance where if you don't have the option to have a transparent background, that's how you do it. But you can show the transparent background using this transparency grid, and when that's on, it shows you if there is transparency. If there's something else on here, you wouldn't see the transparency layer there. So we're gonna do the same thing here. It's a little bit funky on After Effects because it does some weird edge things, but working at such a small size that it's not a big deal. So we're gonna go and do that. Zoom in a little bit. You'll see like the edges are a little bit blurred just because of this, you're working with such small like sizing. Just gonna get rid of fill. Click on fill, opacity 0, or you can click fill, no fill. They both work. We're gonna add another rectangle. Turn the stroke off, turn the fill on. And there you have it. Now turn off the transparency layer. Back it off. You want to make sure that the stroke is above the background. And then we're going to add our elements. File import. We're going to add the YouTube logo. We put that at the bottom. Oh, sorry, put that on top. Bring it down to the bottom. Grab your rectangle tool. You want to select the outside of the 2 pixel border, and the top, it's a little blurry because it's rendering at half. I can change that to full. But now we can move just gonna move that so that it blends there. Yep, it's in there. I'm gonna do this one quickly so that we can you don't have to see the same thing. It's the exact same text. YouTube. Oh, it has a stroke on it. You can see it here. Just turn off no stroke color for this design at least. And the other way of doing this, instead of doing like the full rectangle, you can go in and add a rectangle that is the size of the stroke. And then that mask that you made, just set that to subtract because you're removing it from the full image. Add does the opposite. So once that's in place, you're gonna make sure you have the YouTube layer selected. And just zoom in so we can see really easily here. Make a mask pen around the object. Go down to masks. Hit subtract, so you're going to be removing it from the image itself. Then you're going to come down to here, do the same thing. Right along the line. Subtract, and it's gone. And there you have it. It's masked out. I guess we can change the text color because it is a little bit Blending, we'll just do a red because it's YouTube. Doesn't look great, but the effect is still there. For After Effects, you're only going to be doing a single frame, not a full video. So just go to Composition, Save Frame As, File. It'll open your render queue. In the render queue, you're just going to want to change this to, click on Photoshop, change this to PNG sequence. Make sure you have video output, RGB plus alpha, alpha being the transparent background layer. Hit OK. Just double check that you have your transparency, it's still there. And then back to your render queue here. Want to save it. This will be AE test. Hit save, hit render. And that's that. If you want to see it added to Twitch here, you just want to go edit panels. I'm just going to add a new panel. Add an image. Select the file that you want. So let's start with the Photoshop one we made. Make sure it fills the whole thing. Hit submit. Wait till that finishes. Come up, close edit panels, and you can see there are things hanging over the edges. There's no border, and that's the effect. You can do that with all three here quickly for you. I'll show you what the other ones look like. Sometimes we'll do this. You just want to make sure you scale it to the full size. Submit. And there it is. As you can see, it's the same color as the background, so it looks like it's just a border and that there's things hidden. I think that's a really good look. And the last one to finish this off is our AE test 3. And there you go. You can see the red there, border, and it's cut off. So yeah. So that's how you design some creative, out-of-the-box Twitch panels. So as you've probably noticed, it's gotten darker. I'm gonna end this video here. I'd like to thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, remember to give it a thumbs up. So if you want to see more videos like this, leave your ideas in the comments, and don't forget to hit subscribe. Did you make some panels using this tutorial? Share them in my Discord, it's linked below. Don't forget to check out my Twitch where I do live designing and playing games and doing challenges and fun things like that. But yeah, that's everything for today. Thanks for watching.